This is Casual Babble.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Casual Babble. I'm your host, BC Babbles, and we're going to hop into our latest Entrepreneur Spotlight. Before we begin, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. It really helps out the channel. And hit the bell, that way you're notified about all of our latest content. And if you're enjoying the show on your favorite streaming platform like Spotify, Apple Music, or YouTube Music, be sure to follow us there as well. Now, in this new Entrepreneur Spotlight, we have Tommy Kilpatrick, who was a really awesome person to speak with a few weeks ago, I think, maybe over a month ago. He brings a really interesting perspective into, or from the world of dealing with banks and finances and debt, or alleged debt, as we will eventually speak of. So, introducing you to this new three-part series, we will meet Tommy Kilpatrick, a retired teacher, author, and self-proclaimed financial truth seeker who found himself buried under $85,000 in credit card debt after a business deal went south. What followed wasn't bankruptcy. It was a battle. After filing multiple lawsuits against major banks, Tommy began to uncover what he describes as a systematic misunderstanding, if not an outright deception, of how credit works. In this episode, Tommy walks us through the pivotal moment that sparked his crusade, why he believes millions are unknowingly victims of a banking illusion, and how one lawsuit changed his life and his credit report forever. So, without further ado, here is Tommy Kilpatrick. All right, so welcome back to the studio. Well, welcome for your first time in this studio, Tommy. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Definitely been looking forward to our official convo since our pre-cursing conversation a couple of days ago. How have you been over the weekend?
I've been fantastic. Wow.
Good to hear. I'm so excited to get into this. There was so much we touched on, and I think there's a lot here we can definitely bring to the forefront as far as things I've never heard before prior to seeing your bio and having our pre-screening the other day. So to kick off, real quick kind of intro, who you are, what you currently do, and then we'll dive headfirst into it.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Well, let's see. I'm a retired teacher and an author. And in 2004, I was given an infomercial contract because I had written a book on health and healing. And I needed to be test marketed for about 6 months on radio. And so I had to be available. So I used my credit cards. I had 3 credit cards to use. And about 6 months into it, one of the talents, he got in trouble with the FTC. He made false claims, and they came down hard on the company and him, and my contract was canceled. So I was left with $85,000 of credit card debt. Put me a little tailspin, and then I came out of it. I woke up one morning, I think about my dad being a CPA, and I was in school to be a CPA, even though I never got the credential. I can do the work of one. And I realized the bank didn't have an invoice, so there was no debt. And then I have a memory. I remember from my accounting class in banking, we were required reading of the modern money mechanics, and it said right there that you have to sign a promissory note, and then the bank writes numbers in your free checking account. And I never signed a promissory note. And my father was a judge and attorney, and we had long conversations about fraud undoes all contracts. So I don't have a contractual agreement with the bank. So that's what happened. I filed 3 federal lawsuits against the banks, and you can ask about what happened.
You came out alive.
Yeah.
Realizing those nuances in that setup, that system there, what were your thoughts preparing for those lawsuits? You were talking about 85 grand of debt, but you realizing there's this loophole here that kind of showcases a folly in this system that everyone else is kind of in the victim mindset of. So how did you approach this mentally? What were your concerns? Like what were the mental or emotional obstacles you had to prepare for in taking this head on for the first time?
Oh, sure. Well, first of all, I want to say to you and your audience is don't believe me. Don't believe a word I have to say. I'm a doubting Thomas, so I invite you to be a doubting Thomas too.
Yes.
And look at the show notes, and I have 3 links there. You can look that up yourself. But I want you to send this podcast to your CPA or anyone who's had one class of accounting, and now have them tell you I'm right. So this is not some crazy sovereignty thing of bills of exchange or way of getting out of debt. This is not getting out of debt. What I'm trying to impress upon you and your audience is you're a victim of a crime. Banks have committed this bank fraud on all of us, and I'm just trying to share that awareness to you, and so you can not be a victim anymore. So it was really my background of accounting and law that I came to realize that the banks had committed a crime. And so when I filled out the lawsuit, I explained exactly what they were doing step by step. And so it was going along fine. We were going to be doing a deposition. And so that means that the bank was going to have to send someone to my office, and we're going to ask them lots of questions. They'd have to answer them truthfully under penalty of perjury.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I was called into court, and my father said, that doesn't happen. Judges are not interested in talking to you now. They're just basically bookkeeping and more like calendar. That's what they're trying to do, is just are beyond trial for this date. So let's get this thing going.
Yeah.
And he called me in, and the my defendants were not there. The banks were not there. It was just me. And so he said, Mr. Kilpatrick, do you have a credit card? Well, let me start at the beginning. Oh, we'll start at the beginning later. Do you have a credit card? Well, it was actually a gift card. A gift card? Pull your card out. So I pulled my card out. He said, read what it says right there. It says credit card. You're an idiot. Get out of here. So he dismissed all three cases. So I thought, well, there you go. I'm going to be sued. I've got all these problems coming up in the future. But then a month later, I looked at my credit report, and all three banks were off my credit report, and my credit score improved.
That must be nice.
Sue them and get your credit score up.
Right. Well, one thing you I think you just mentioned it a few moments ago, is that what you discuss and what you bring to the table as far as this new perspective on the systems that banks have been operating by is to iterate. This is not a get out of debt free scheme. Essentially, this is more a way in which to kind of reframe the actual position you're in, and I guess to kind of rehash whether or not you are truly indebted. And you emphasize using words like alleged debt. So talk a little bit about why that kind of language matters so much in this realm, especially if it takes one to a potential scenario of a legal battle.
Right. Law is language, and language is law. So if you say you have credit card debt, you've got debt. There's nothing I can do about it. You go into court, you say you got debt, you got it. But we watch television, we see the bank robber, and we always say alleged. And all I'm asking your audience to do is, a mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. So
Right.
I'm asking you and your audience just to open your mind up. Is this possibility of adding the word allege? So when we have the word allege, now the bank has to provide evidence that there's a debt. See, if you don't, then you're using a criminal language, and you're never going to win the argument. You're always going to be losing. So here is where we have to start with the truth. And that's where we have, and there are true credit cards. So let's discuss that, and that you have to pay those. Okay. Let's say you need tires, and you go into a tire store, and you say, hey, you look at the bill, you're going, I don't have that. They say, BC, you know what? If you apply for an in-store credit card, you might get approved. Sure enough, you're approved. Oh, they're happy. Everybody's happy. They put tires on your car, you drive away, and you didn't pay for that. Okay. At the end of the month, you'll get a statement, which is true, and they have an outstanding unpaid invoice, which is true. You owe that money. You took their tires. There was a service guy who balanced them, put them on your car. You owe that money to the bank. So not to the bank, but you owe that to the merchant. So that's what I'm trying to distinguish. There's a merchant-issued credit card, which is a true credit card, and you owe the money. On the other side, a bank-issued is a phony card, and that's where they've lied to you. So how do you tell the difference between an Amazon, Walmart, or any department store, and you think it's a store? Look on the back of the card. If it says issued by Bank of America, Citibank, Wells Fargo, Bank of London, Bank of Tokyo, Bank of India, this worldwide fraud is going on, and so there is not a debt. You do not have a debt with the bank.
Wow. So
just a little bit out there.
Yes, and so to clarify, just so I know I have this down, it's based on where that money comes from. Maybe that's too simple. Maybe
Invoice.
that's too simple, but
I'd say invoice. See,
invoice.
so,
Okay.
right. So, because of my background in accounting and my first job was as an accountant, we
Hmm.
always had to pay from an invoice. So, that's the critical thing. That's the debt instrument. That's the proof that the merchant has that you have not paid. And you can go to court and say, Judge, he hasn't paid me. Oh, paid you for what? Oh, he got a few pounds of sugar the last couple of years. Do you have anything written down? Oh, no, it's just from my memory. That's not going to work. So you have a piece of paper that says the date, what you took, taxes, shipping, terms and conditions, everything's laid out on that invoice. And that is what a merchant has. That bank did not put tires on your car. The
Hmm.
bank did not come out to your house and do a plumbing job. So there is no invoice. So when you say alleged, now you're forcing a bank to bring an invoice to court. And they don't have one, they have no debt.
You place the burden on them. Got you. Absolutely. Now, while these insights are incredible, I can't help but wonder, you know, how how do you find how do you find these insights, these perspectives being received when it comes to more mainstream financial understandings and how people are accustomed to operating within the systems that we're more taught? What is that reception like?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I have to say let me just ask you a question, BC. Is it possible that we have been, you, your audience, and me too, have we been lied to, indoctrinated, and brainwashed? Is it possible? What
Yeah,
would you say?
absolutely. I mean, we
Okay.
grew up, well, because we grew up and we seek sources of information, so we have to trust to a degree the integrity of those sources. So I'd say that as much as I want to say that's just how we learn, that also provides the capacity for certain indoctrinations to occur. So yes, short answer, yes, absolutely.
And brainwashing. So it's not a nice thing. I'm not here to insult your audience at all, and that
Right,
includes me
absolutely.
too. So I'm in the same pool. So it's possible. All right, a lie is a lie, and we know what that is. But what if it's told generationally? So you're brought up here, BC. This is a credit card, and you
Hmm.
pay the bill. See the statement? That's a bill, and then their parents got the same thing they told them. So it's generational. And then if you don't question it, then you've been brainwashed. So if you start with the allege, and now we are differentiating it, now we're saying bank issued alleged credit card debt.
Hmm.
That is what we're talking about. And that when you don't owe, because it's not a debt. So how we overcome that is we have to get the truth, and it's back to law as language. So if you use the words like credit, credit, credit available, or
Hmm.
the credit card, and you say the credit card statement, and these are the words of the criminal, and you're always going to lose the argument. So you have to start
Hmm.
with the truth, and that's where we got to start with is what is true.
Right. And so, and for you, you've been, and I want to delve more into the ways in which you think we, as not only as entrepreneurs, who are the primary audience that I have, but also as a people in general, should begin approaching how to figure out a disestablishment of this brainwashing. No, I don't want to say brainwashing in the sense of I'm being superfluous. I want to say within total respect of the context you're providing. But so to redirect, so one of the ways in which you've been constantly kind of trying to bring this to the masses is you've been a guest on dozens of podcasts recently, sharing your story and your insights across different platforms. Have you found any particular reactions so far unusually surprising to you at this point, or things that still kind of like take you a little bit of aback when you give this perspective?
Not really. What I get is the brainwashed person, which I fully understand. They're going to give me the narrative, and
Hmm.
that's fine. They didn't listen to anything I have to say, and that's okay. They're a troll. I have, in the past, have had a couple of investigators impersonate themselves as police officers,
Mm.
flipping a badge and trying to come into my home to access my computer because I was doing a pretty good job on the banks and going into court, and I had because all I would do is I'd have my expert witness, and the credit card, they had to acknowledge before we went into court that they didn't have an invoice, they didn't have a promissory notes, they didn't have any evidence, and they were going to lose. So we had an agreement. We'd walk in, and the judge would be going, "What's going on here? You're going to take it off the credit report, and it's all paid, and you're not going to sue." Okay, that's the agreement. He would sign off on it, and then a court case would be dismissed. I did get a contact from a podcaster just 3 days ago, and he interviewed me last week, and he contacted me, and he said he was served a Citibank lawsuit on August 1st, and he had 21 days to respond. And so he said, "What do I do? I've had my head in the sand. I didn't want to deal with it, but after talking to you, is there some possibility?" Absolutely, but what we need is time. So what I had him do is join my private membership association. That's where I'm not dealing with the public. It's a private group. And so for $25, he's a member for a whole year. He's only going to need it for like a year, a membership. So now I can talk to him. Now I can draft documents for him. So what we came up with is an idea to extend the time to respond. So there's typical, that judges do it all the time. It's no big deal. So, but here we listed the obvious reasons why, because we want to seek legal counsel. Oh, judges love that because they're all part of the brotherhood. Everybody makes money. And then we want to do some more legal research and things, and some other things too. But then the kicker was we want to have time to file a counter complaint. This is unheard of. If you've ever been in court and watched these cases, they are like automatic. It's just a few words in and out. The people never show up. If they do show up, the judge says, "Why don't you step out to the in the court, outside the courtroom there in the hallway, and work it out?" And then they come back in, and the person's already gone. Say, "Judge, we made a deal. They're going to pay us $500 a month, for the next 10 months." So, and that's what's entered in, and he signed it. So the judge takes it as ordered. So it's all done. It's you never counter, and then we're going to be doing all the discovery. So. So once the bank receives this, because the bank has to have the same document, you submit it to court, but you also send it to the attorney. And so now the attorney for Citibank is looking at this going, this is going to be about $20,000 or $30,000 just in response what's going to go on. And we don't want to take this, because if they dismiss the case now, there's no countersuit. We can't file a counter complaint. But if they proceed it, then we can answer it and then file a counter complaint. So if they dismiss, we're still on board with our claim of fraud, and we can still go forward with a lawsuit, and it's free. It didn't cost us anything. So that's the great thing. If they sue you, you can do a countersuit back to them, and you don't have to do the big deal of serving them the papers. It's already lawsuit. So you just send the paperwork on the other side. So now they're in trouble, and they can't get out of this. This is not something they can dismiss. It's we are in charge. So we turn the tables on them if they ever try to take a bite out of us. So, so it's just people that are just going to react and just not think, and that's fine. But it's other people are going, "What?" And that's like you. And I want you to encourage you to go, "Is this true? Let's work this out. So let's go step by step so that you fully understand it. So if you can explain it back to me, then you got it." Because I'm not trying to say some wacky, weird sovereignty thing of bills of exchange. And this is just accounting. So anyone who's had an accounting class or anybody who's in business knows you don't pay from a statement. You only pay from an invoice.
And take this moment to also plug a bit more about your private channel. Talk a little bit more about that and the kind of resources you offer to those who find you and who want to sign up for this private channel of yours.
Sure. It's very simple. I have a free consultation, and if you sign up for the free consultation, I give you my $69 book for free. You can read through it. You're a smart person. You can figure it out. Write your own letter. That's all you got to do. Is what I'm saying is write a letter to the bank to close your free checking account associated with this card. And that's where, in my lawsuit with the banks, I laid out all the crimes they were committing. And so that's when the judge finally got around, or got pressure, saying, "Well, Judge, we can't bring a person because we don't have a debt, so they're all part of the system. So they want to keep the system working. And so that's where I think the reason I got called into court and threw the case out. But I could have filed a response and a request to reconsider being dismissed. I could have done that, and we could have maybe back on track, and then we back on discovery. But that's where the banks couldn't have that happen. So that's why they got the judge to dismiss it, and then they took it off my credit report, because then where's my complaint? How can I go to court and say they committed a fraud when it's not even on my credit report anymore, and my credit score went up?
Yeah.
So,
And a couple of interesting things you said, one from our pre-screening, was that before you send the letter and requesting the closure, you suggest take out that full amount and at least reallocate it somewhere else.
well, it's your money.
They've given it to
Before we
you.
kind of get to that, I think we got to kind of cover is that, okay, if it's not an invoice and we agree that they're not, let's say, the merchant. Think about 100 years ago, you went to the general store, you said, hey, Charlie, I need 5 pounds of flour, a pound of sugar, and my crops are coming in a couple of weeks, so I'll pay you. That's fine. He writes it out on a receipt. He's got that. You don't go to him and say, hey, Charlie, can I borrow $10,000? No, we don't do loans. You go to the bank. So the bank does not sell you products, does not provide a service, so they cannot ever have a credit card.